we're the Soil Savers, and today we're going to talk to you about soil degradation, some of the causes, some of the environmental impacts, and then some practices that you can use to slow down soil degradation. This is Dr. Mulvaney, a soil scientist and professor at the University of Illinois. And why do you think the soil is important?
The soil is important because it supplies nutrients and water to grow plants, and it supports life on planet Earth. Without it, we can't grow our food, we can't grow fiber, and the environment has to deteriorate. The soil protects all of us, and it feeds all of us. It has to be important.
This is Peggy Anderson, and she owns a conventional corn and soybean farm. And Peggy, why do you think that the soil is important?
The soil is important to us so that we can sustain, have a high production and sustain our population. If we don't take care of it, we will not have enough production to take care of a population.
So what we have here is a basic soil profile here in the great state of Illinois. What we have here is our nice thick A horizon, which is what makes our soil so productive. This is our basic interaction layer between what's growing on top and what's in the soil. This is where most of our nutrients will be cycled throughout the history of the soil, and also where we'll have our end cycle going through, and also where our water will percolate through the soil eventually. After the A horizon, we get down here into the B horizon, which doesn't do much, as well as the C horizon. The B and C horizon, both in total, don't really do anything whatsoever for our growth up on top, but we see why erosion of the soil, or degradation in general, of this A horizon leaves us with this B and C horizon, which won't be nearly as productive as what this is up on top.
All right, here we have a field that was alfalfa, and they've done some moldboard plowing here. And with this intensive tillage here, this soil is very likely for water and wind erosion, as it's very loose right now. And with the tillage as well, they're also losing some organic matter by plowing up the soil. The organic matter is being broken down right now. And all these factors are very detrimental to crop production on this soil.
Okay, so what we have here is a native prairie restoration project here in Illinois. So this is what the landscape of Illinois used to look like in about 60% of the state, I believe. What we have here is continuous growth over the entire growing season, and we also see that the soil is never ever allowed to be in direct contact with, rain or anything else, because it's always protected by all these plants. Because of this, we will most likely have a very nutrient-rich soil beneath it, which is why what we'll show later, a cultivated field is as productive as what it is, and why the soil is so dark from years and years of organic matter being built up due to growth like this. Alright, so what we have here in comparison to our native prairie that we showed earlier is a field that's been cultivated for probably 60 years or so. And anyways, what we see is a soil here that is not protected at all from environmental elements, and so you're going to see a lot more erosion and other sorts of soil degradation that will make this a less productive soil as the years go along.
This is a no-till cornfield, and this is good because it adds more organic matter to the soil, which allows the soil to store more carbon.
You can see that the soil is completely covered with residue. If you clear it away, that's what your soil would look like if you did not have all this residue. It would make it prone to erosion. So by doing this no-till practice, it really helps the soil be protected. In the spring, you can no-till drill soybeans on here, and that would work very effectively as long as the soil is well drained and as long as the soils warm up at fast.
Here we have a good example of monoculture. This is all corn right here, and then it's also intended to be corn next year, which can be very detrimental to the soil because then you have to put more chemicals on it to keep your pests down, more nitrogen to be able to get the crop its nutrients. And with all this, it can be very detrimental to the soil. It's better to rotate your crops in and out. That way you can keep up your nutrient levels without having to put all these synthetic chemicals on the soil.
we are at a stream that is located right by a field that has previously been planted with alfalfa, and most likely next year it will be planted with corn, which means that nitrogen and maybe phosphorus will be applied. Both can easily be leached or run off into this stream and carried down this stream to a pond or lake where the load of nutrients can cause eutrophication and low dissolved oxygen contents in the lake or pond aquatic ecosystem.
Okay, so in front of us here we have a cattle pasture, typical of Illinois. And one thing to remember about pastures that can help the soil is do not overgraze. It's important to manage how you let the animals graze and not let them disturb the soil in a way that it's going to make it prone to degradation. Another thing that you need to think about is when these cattle are foraging out here, they're taking up a lot of the nutrients from the plant matter. They return it with manure, but it is important to manage fertility of pastures. Having a good lush growth is one of the best ways to protect the soil. And right here you can see that there's a little growth of grass running up in a line there. That probably was due to a fence line that was used for rotational grazing over the course of the growing season. And that's another great tool that can be used with grazing pastures is rotating. It allows them to use all the forage available in a given area in an effective manner.
Yep. Hopefully you've learned why the soil is important and some practices that you can do to help save the soil.